All right, hello, my 666 subscribers. Today I'm going to talk about who can still make the major, the NA major from NA, and what placements teams can get, the upcoming matchups, things like this. But really quickly, I wanted to show you guys this. So they finally announced where this major is going to be held. We already knew it was going to be in the United States, but they announced the city. So Charlotte, North Carolina, from May 16th through the 22nd. We also knew the dates before, but again, the city has finally been announced. So it's pretty soon coming up. It starts in just over a month on the 16th of May. Today being the 14th of April. So I guess not that much time if you have to do any decent amount of traveling. But I mean, it's probably just as convenient if you live in Charlotte or anywhere relatively close to Charlotte. So, I mean, just in terms of details, I don't think there's too much else here. A lot of the details they left out of this, and they said that they'll announce a little bit later because, again, we knew the dates and everything, and there's just sort of some preamble and stuff. And after 2 years without a live audience, we will finally have a live audience. And I guess that was another thing that we weren't 100% on. I think most people expected that they would finally have a live audience, but they did confirm it here. So one more time, the dates from the 16th through the 22nd. And so the 16th through the 18th is the group stage, but that is not open to the public. I mean, maybe you can hang out in Charlotte or whatever, and if you're friends with the players, whatever, you can mingle with them. I don't know, whatever. But just as a general member of the audience, you won't be able to attend until the 20th. So this is going to be, I believe, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, May 20th, 21st, and 22nd. So the playoffs will be on these 2 days, and then just the grand final on the 22nd. I imagine they'll do like some sort of announcement on the 22nd, maybe for updates to the roadmap or just for the next season or something. They usually do some sort of something at the majors. And I mean, that's pretty much it for this. Again, they said that they'll be sharing more of the details coming in the near future. So hopefully we get them soon, because I guess people can still book tickets and whatever, but I suppose you can't actually buy the tickets for this event until they announce them. So some more details to come. But anyways, let's get on to the actual focus of this video. So who can go to the NA major from NA? Well, the short answer is everybody can possibly go. Of course, there's several combinations that are impossible, combinations of 4 teams, but any given team can still sneak into that top 4 and go to the major. So we're going to go over some scenarios where some of that is possible, maybe go over the highest and the lowest that any given team can place. And I ran the numbers by hand on that, so hopefully I didn't make any mistakes. I think I have it all correct, but and we're also going to look at some of the upcoming matchups that are going to be very important for determining the standings at the end of the stage. So we've played 6 days thus far, and there are 9 in total, so there are 3 more to go. We're 2/3 of the way through the stage, and these are the standings at this point. So I'll read them top to bottom, I guess, maybe if you're not looking at the screen. So Oxygen in first place at 14 points, second place Astralis, third Xset, fourth Dark Zero, fifth Space Station, sixth Beast Coast, 7 Parabellum, 8th TSM, 9th Sonics, and 10th Mirage. So at this point, Mirage, Sonics, and TSM are all exceedingly unlikely. Again, it is possible, but they're all very, very unlikely to break into that top 4, and they can only get up to 4th place, each of them. And Parabellum's also fairly unlikely, but it is still possible, and I think they can even sneak their way up to 1st place. Space Station has fallen all the way down to 5th place from 2nd place after some of these teams did well and they did not end up winning their game. But anyways, let's look at some of the matchups that should be pretty important. So these are all the matches we've already seen, the first 6 playdays, and then down here we have the matches yet to be played. So Mirage versus Astralis, not terribly important. Astralis, of course, will want the points, but Astralis is one of the teams that doesn't really badly need points to stay in that top 4. They need a few points probably, but and this is probably even one of the matchups where they'll get it. TSM Beast Coast. Beast Coast really needs points to make it up into that top 4, and I guess they're in 6th place, so they're within range. Of course, if they get 3 points and somehow none of these teams got any points in that time, they'd go all the way up to 3rd, and they're only 4 points behind these guys, but that is still more than a whole match. So that might be kind of important for Beast Coast, but again, TSM is playing for very little, considering not only do they have to go pretty well flawless, but they also need several other things to happen with other teams. Dark Zero versus Xset, both of these teams are pretty well in major contention. That's a very important game. Sonics versus Oxygen, not very important. Again, Oxygen is one of the most likely teams to go. I guess the most likely at this point, and Sonics is one of the least likely, nearly impossible. Space Station versus Parabellum. These are 2 of the lower teams that are still in contention at 5th place and 7th place there. So this should be important. The loser of this might just well kiss their their major contention goodbye. So that should be a really exciting matchup to close out day number 7. And okay, so play day number 8, Dark Zero versus Oxygen. Both of these guys are currently in the top 4. This is a big match. Sonics versus Space Station. Space Station needs to keep winning. They're not in the top 4 right now, and maybe they will be after this playdate, but as of playdate 6 being over, they're not, so they really need to get the points against Sonics. And TSM Parabellum, 2 of the lower teams. Parabellum, again, is probably just going to need to pretty well win out or get most of their points going forward, so important for Parabellum, not that big for TSM. Again, given that they probably won't be going regardless. Mirage versus Beast Coast. Beast Coast needs the points here. Astralis versus Xset, 2 of the top 4 teams. Once again, I think 2nd place versus 3rd place, so that could be a very important match for, maybe it could still be both of these teams going to the major, but for seeding and whatnot. And then Astralis versus Beast Coast, also pretty important. Beast Coast trying to break into that top 4. Astralis trying to stay there. Mirage and Parabellum, another case of Parabellum needing to beat another low-tier team to have a chance of going to the major. Parabellum perhaps has the most favorable looking schedule going forward. They play against TSM, who've been really struggling. They play against Mirage, who look like the worst team in the NAL at the moment. And they also play against Space Station, which is probably their toughest game going forward. But it's also, Space Station just showed weakness in this last week. They almost lost to Oxygen, but they did end up beating them. The only team to have beaten Oxygen, which is big, but they also did just take a loss to Beast Coast. They took a loss to Astralis, so they've lost to pretty good teams, but especially the Beast Coast loss makes it seem like maybe Parabellum could take it against Space Station, so a good schedule for them going forward. And did I finish up here? No. Okay, so Oxygen versus Xset, another pair of top 4 teams at the moment, so that could be big. Dark Zero Space Station, same kind of thing. Space Station not in top 4, but indeed is number 5, so that'll be important. And then this probably isn't terribly important, but it could be maybe, but that seems super weird. Whoever loses this, I guess maybe up to this point, both of these teams could technically be about to break into top 4. It'd be some crazy circumstances, but this could be a game that determines who gets 4th place. I think that'd be insane, but it could happen. So I think these 2 will be the last 2 really big important ones, that Oxygen versus Xset and Dark Zero versus Space Station. And all right, so I'm looking at a different sheet now, but I'm just gonna read off how each team could make it into a certain position. So Oxygen, I'll start at the bottom actually. So Mirage can get anywhere from 4th through 10th place. 10th place is obvious how they can do it, and I'll actually go back to the standings while I'm talking about this, so it's easier for you guys to visualize things. Okay, so Mirage, I believe, can make it all the way up to 4th place, and to do that, they need Xset to not get a point. They need SSG to get at most 1 point, and they need to have a better round differential than Xset. And if SSG does get that 1 point, then they also need a better round differential than SSG. So I think several of these low down teams, so TSM and Sonics, it's a pretty much the same situation as Mirage. They really need Dark Zero to do well because Dark Zero plays against Xset and Space Station still. So they can't pass Dark Zero and Space Station. They can't pass Dark Zero and Xset, but they can pass Xset and Space Station. That it's a little bit hard to explain, but again, it is because of the fact that Dark Zero plays against Xset and Space Station. So even if there's some overtime stuff, as soon as any of these teams get on 13 points, Sonics and Mirage can't pass them. 13 points is the maximum TSM can get on. So anyways, one more time, they need Xset to not get a single point in their next 3 games. Space Station can get it most once, and then they also need to beat them on round differential, which is going to be really hard. Xset is at plus 14, Mirage is at minus 22. Any of these teams, their round differential can increase by 21 if they get 3 7-0s, so Mirage could go up to -1, and similarly, Xset can go down by 21, so they can go to -7. So it's technically possible, but realistically, it's just not a possibility. So Mirage, Sonics, TSM, all the same sort of scenario. Parabellum's is crazy, so unless I made a mistake here, I believe the only way for them to get 1st place, and there are several combinations of ways for them to get 2nd, 3rd, or 4th, but they're still fairly difficult because of how low they are in terms of points. But for 1st place, they need a 5-way tie, a 5-way tie, all of them on 16 points, Oxygen, Astralis, Xset, and Dark Zero, along with Parabellum, and then Parabellum has to have the best round differential. I didn't run everything to make sure that they could have the best round differential. I don't see why they couldn't, because, say all of those teams have close games whenever they win, and they get crushed whenever they lose on their way to 16 points, and then Parabellum gets 3 7-0s. It's still possible, I'm sure. But again, they need to come out on top of a 5-way tie at at 16 points on the top. So kind of insane. And then I think it's still pretty clear how they can get the bottom. Same thing with everyone below them. Beast Coast isn't terribly interesting. I think you can sort of picture how they can get bottom. Maybe it's a little bit crazy. I think some, they have to sort of divide the points among the bottom, and a lot of the bottom teams have to beat a lot of the top teams, but I believe they could still get the bottom. And then the top, also not that incredible. I mean, if they just win out, they'll have 19 points, and then they just need, I guess, a lot of the teams below them to beat a lot of the teams currently above them, but I don't think it's terribly far-fetched, so I'm not going to go into it. And then, okay, SSG also has a pretty insane way that they can get 10th place. So they also need a 5-way tie, but it would be at the bottom. All the teams having 11 points that are involved in that tie. So them, Mirage, Sonics, TSM, and Parabellum, and then SSG would have to have the worst round differential. So it's sort of similar to how Parabellum can get the top with a 5-way tie. SSG could also be at the very bottom with a 5-way tie. So that'd be insane circumstances. So I'm sure they're not going to get last place, but and more likely than anything, they're going to be fighting for top 4. But again, at the moment, they're not in that top 4. They fell out quite non-gracefully. Okay, so that's Space Station, and then Dark Zero up. I don't think any of these guys can get last place. So for Dark Zero to get 9th place, they just have to get no points, and then a lot of these teams below them need to get some weird combination of points, but they can't be passed by both TSM and Sonics. So Dark Zero is on 12 points, and if Sonics got all 9 points, they'd go to 12. If TSM got 8 points, they would go up to 12. But because TSM and Sonics play each other, they can't get enough points. They split three of the points between them. But TSM has already played Mirage, Sonics have already played Mirage, so these bottom 3 teams don't have to do any more splitting beyond that. But yeah, TSM and Sonic cannot get both above Dark Zero. Everyone else technically can at the same time, so Dark Zero could fall as far as 9th place. And of course, they would be tied at the bottom with like Mirage or Sonics or somebody. But in the case of whoever is at the bottom having a better round differential, I think is still a possibility. Dark Zero would need to get crushed quite a lot, and then these guys would have to do extremely well. But once again, a possibility. Okay, and XSET, it's pretty much the exact same thing as Dark Zero. They're on the same number of points. Of course, they have much higher round differential, but I think it's still possible. So yeah, they cannot be passed by both TSM and Sonics because TSM and Sonics play each other. And then Astralis, I think they can go as low as 7th, and I mean, this isn't too crazy to look at. These guys can go up to 13 points, and these 2 teams can go up to 12 points, and Astralis has 14 points, so they cannot be passed by any of those 3. So in the case that everyone below them passes them, and Oxygen remains above them, then Astralis would get 7th place. Nothing too magical. And just the same thing for Oxygen. They cannot be passed by Mirage or Sonics or TSM, so they are guaranteed at least 7th place. And I guess that does it for this video. I just wanted to mention a few things. Maybe I'll do an updated version, probably going into the last Playday, assuming there was a lot to play for. I think it's very far-fetched with how tight all of the standings are right now that everyone will be locked in before the last Playday, so I imagine some number of the games will be important. And maybe if there's something super cool, super weird, super strange, whatever it is, going into the 8th Playday, maybe I'll even do one of these then, but... okay, so yeah, I guess that'll do it for this video. I will catch you guys in the next one.